Hi, this is Connor here for Visions, and today I'm going to be doing a review of the Sigma 20mm f1.8 EX DG-RF aspherical wide-angle lens. What all that means is basically this is one of Sigma's high-grade lenses. It's made for digital cameras, but it will also fit full-frame digital cameras, and it also has spherical elements to help boost the image quality of the lens. So, this is what the lens comes in addition to a normal Sigma box, which I don't have with me, but as you can see, it's a pretty nice lens pouch. It has a good little padding, little foam cushion to it that you can see there, and it's a pretty solid construction. It also has a belt loop on the back. So right off the bat, they give you a really nice case, so that's good to start with. And then we get to the lens itself. So this lens has, I believe, 13 elements in 11 groups, and it weighs just under 2 pounds, which you'd expect because it has a filter thread of 82 millimeters. So this is a really wide front opening, but that's also kind of expected because this is an ultra-wide, ultra-fast lens. Getting a 1.8 maximum aperture on a 20mm lens is not easy. You can see it really bows out there. It's a very large front element. Some other things that are worth noting about this lens is it has Sigma's, not unique, but an interesting focusing clutch. As you see, I just popped it into manual mode, and when you're on manual mode, you can manually focus the lens and forth. But when you pop it back up into AF mode, you see I just pop it back and forth. When I'm in AF mode, I can spin it freely forever and I won't change anything, which is really nice. Another good feature about this lens is that it does have this aperture changing ring right here. It's not gelded like a lot of new Nikon lenses are, or all of new Nikon lenses are, I should say, which is good for if you want to use this on, say, an old film camera. It can still remain functional, which is always nice. It has a 9-bladed diaphragm, which is good, you'd think, for bokeh. However, this is still a 20mm lens, and you have to remember that this is priced way cheaper than any other lens in its class, apart from the Sigma 24mm f1.8, and that's me comparing it to, say, the Nikon 24mm f1.4 or the Canon 24mm f1.4, because this comes in both Nikon and Canon mounts, in addition to probably Sony, Pentax, and all of those mounts. But regardless, what I'm saying is those are $2,000 lenses only. For Nikon, even more, for Canon, a little less. But this lens, as of me recording this video, is only $630 new on Amazon, and I got this copy actually for only $325 on eBay. For some reason, a lot of people are selling these lenses very cheap on eBay, and now is a pretty good time to buy. I bought from a seller that I knew had a really good return policy, because sometimes Sigma's quality control can be a little lackluster, and there are a lot of dud lenses that are very soft, wide open. And I wanted to be sure that I return it if I got a dud copy, but overall, this lens is a good lens, and it was a really great price. So I recommend going to eBay if you're going to buy one of these lenses, even though I will include links to Amazon, of course, in the description. So there is this typical pedal lens hood. You'll notice one of my big pet peeves in lenses is it's very tough to get the lens cap off when you have the hood on. It's not one of the typical Nikon lens caps with the nice little grips like this one, where you can pinch the inside and get it out of the hood really easily. You only have the side grips, so it's kind of more like a Canon lens cap, which I'm kind of disappointed at, because I know that Sigma does make some pinchy lens caps. Some other nice things to notice about this lens, apart from its wide focal length and large maximum aperture, is that it focuses very closely, down below 0.2 meters, which is under a foot away, almost a half a foot away actually. So this lens, even though it's so wide, is a fairly decent macro lens. It's not amazing, and it's not going to compete with a dedicated macro, but it will get you a reproduction ratio of 1:4, which is not shabby. I do have some critiques of this lens though. It is it's not the sharpest wide open, which is to be expected. This lens can't compete with the, say, Nikon and Canon equivalents, because it's just not built to the same standard per se. I mean, we're talking about a lens that's a third of the price of the other two lenses. so you can't expect it to perform exactly the same. But for the money you pay, you're getting an amazing, amazing lens. And I'll show some sample pictures about the image quality now. This is a picture taken not at f1.8 but at wide aperture f2. As you can see, when I zoom in at the sides, there is a little bit of corner softness. There's also some softness at the center. This shot is taken flat out at 1.8, and it would only really be possible at 1.8 because I needed the model spinning still. Notice the fall off. However, when you do stop this lens down to about f4 and above, you do get some really amazing color rendition. Like I said earlier, this lens is just about 2 pounds, so it's a pretty large lens, but it balances rather nicely on my Nikon D300 I've found. When I have the battery grip on the D300, it does lean forward because it does have a pretty heavy front element, but as a whole package, this is very good. I had no problems. I actually did a time-lapse video if you've been to our actual Vision site recently. All with this lens over the last 2 weeks, and that means I left my camera out on a tripod. That was a cheaper tripod, like $40 or $50, not some expensive Gitzo or Micro or anything. And I had no problems with the tripod moving at all under all this weight. It could totally handle it, and it's honestly not that bad as far as lenses go. I think it's worth lugging around. I definitely recommend it. Even I carried it when I was going on backpacking trips and going on really long hikes. So I think that it's worth it just to have the maximum aperture. However, the one other problem with this lens, other than the sharpness issue that I just discussed, is the bokeh of this lens is subpar, to say the least. It's really tough to get good bokeh with such a wide focal length, so I wasn't really expecting good bokeh out of this, but it's just something that you have to remember. If you're at 1.8 and you're, say, using this for macro or closer up photography, this might not be the lens for you. This is more of a landscape lens, and it's really, really great as a landscape lens, but you just have to remember, you shouldn't be going around taking portraits with this lens. It's not going to be flattering even. At 20 millimeters, you're going to distort the face, and it's not really meant for that kind of photography. So if the bokeh doesn't, it's not something you should really be concerning yourself with if you want to use this for, say, astrophotography, which is, I think, its star selling point, or just for basic low light photography where you need a wide angle, then this is the lens for you. I would rate this lens very highly. I'd say an 8 out of 10. I take off 2 points because it's just really not too sharp at 1.8, which is kind of disappointing when I compare it with Roman's 24-1.4 L series Canon lens. And I know that this is a completely different price range, and it's kind of silly to even compare the two, seeing as I got this lens for a sixth of the price as what Roman got his lens for. But it's still, I can't say that it's the best. I have to do a lot of post-processing. But now I'll just show you some sample pictures. And one final note while I show you this sample. This is taken at f2.2, and I just wanted to show you the center sharpness and show you what the bokeh actually looks like. It's also good to note the great color rendition and just superb sharpness and contrast. To see a time-lapse shot with this lens, or to just see other pictures I've taken with this lens, please use the links in the description below. See ya!